So I think everybody is abuzz and ablaze because of the Clipse album itself, but then secondarily because you gave it a 10.
It,
And
it would
that
it would
that
it would seem so, sometimes, and I sort of like uh sort of accept uh this because I'm not a narcissist, and I understand that I'm a drop in the overall music world bucket, and just in the world in general. There's a lot of, I'm sure you guys have been paying attention. Things have not been that great over the past year plus. You know what I mean? Socially, politically, culturally. So sometimes
Mm,
I sit there and I kind of like think to myself, like, while the world's burning and going to hell, and I'm just like, it's not that I don't want to review an album or talk about music or be excited or hype about, art. Of course I do. I always do. But sometimes I'm just not as enthused about putting it out there in the world, because I'm just sort of like, there's so many other things going on, that are pretty terrible, and are, maybe more worthy of people's attention. So, if I happen to
But you
give an
providing light by giving something a 10, man. You
well,
I
just
yeah,
know, well, but
again,
take me. Like, I want to
I
hear.
think it's a 10, and then some people are like, okay, I'm happy about that. I'd be like, that's fine. There's a lot going on right now, but I'm personally, I'm still flattered after all these years. I can still give something a 10. I can still say something is a perfect record in my eyes, and people still are like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No,
Fine.
that is the case. That is why we are here, because people still care about your opinion. Let's talk about your private listening experience and how you listened and decided, yeah, because I know you're not gonna give it out without, I mean, really, really feeling it. And I know you're hearing like the world is already going nuts before you release your review. People are already like, oh my God, which becomes like, do I match their enthusiasm? Do I temper it a little bit? I mean,
I'll say going nuts in different ways, because it's sort of been it sort of depends on what time period you're talking about, and the short amount of time there was between the album being announced, the album leaking, and the album officially coming out, and what sides of Twitter you were seeing it on. Because I remember, and I don't know, how valid any of this was. Now, obviously, in retrospect, I'm very skeptical of it. But like when the album originally leaked, my feed was just filled with tweets that were like, "This album's fucking trash,
mm,
horrible."
Mm.
Clipse, did all this bullshit for nothing. And, again, I didn't download the leak myself. I was going to wait. And I was like, wow, really? I mean, I suppose, like, an album can have a couple of great singles, and then maybe the rest of it's bad, but, I was, and I figured, like, the only people who would dare take the time to go out and download such a leak would be people who are actually interested
Like
sure,
in
me.
the
sure,
album. You know
sure.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
actually had the investment of being a fan to go out and listen to the record. And now I'm thinking, did any of these people even hear the album, or did they think like, oh,
Right.
this is an opportunity for me to shit on the record and get some engagement or something like that? But yeah, I mean, immediately I just saw so many people hating on the record after it leaked, and people saying, "Oh man, this album it's not it, man." And I was like, "Wow, okay," But once I actually like heard it, I was like, "Where's the skips? Where's the terrible tracks? Where's the terrible cuts?" I mean, even some people I'm looking at weird right now who like a few of the negative responses that I've seen people, who have actually been able to sort of like muster anything negative about the record, been like, yeah, well, some of those Pharrell hooks aren't that good. And it's like, I
Well,
don't
why did we? I mean, we know why we like it. Why did you give it a 10?
um I think it comes back to a couple of different things. And you're talking about sort of like my listening experience. I mean, I feel like my listening experience with this record goes back to being a fan of the group's original run,
Sure.
and
Hmm.
I feel like in all the years that I've been covering music, I mean, I've been, especially in the internet age, witness to a lot of comeback records, and a handful of amazing ones and great ones and mind-blowing ones. Some of my favorite records over the past 10 plus years have been as a result of either a comeback or a really good comeback run. um, and but also, as you already probably know, there's like way many more comebacks that are terrible, you know, and just
Sure.
like
Yeah.
mark
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, my frame of reference is, you know, just like Hell Hath No Fury. That's like a 10 out of 10 album for me, you know.
Yes,
I
it
just
is.
feel like it's perfection in terms of just consistent song quality, in terms of lyricism, in terms of choruses, in terms of like overall creativity. Yeah, it's not like as conceptual as a To Pimp a Butterfly or like a Dark Side of the Moon or anything like that, but it's just such, you know, it's more a 10 out of 10 album in the same way that like the first Strokes album is like a 10 out of 10 album. It's just such a great, flawless batch of killer songs that just share a lot of aesthetic and stylistic similarities, and every single one is just like a fucking undeniable banger, you know. And you know, there's room for that as well. I mean, you know, I do love this kind of like age of hip hop and, you know, the classic progressive rock era where you did have like these albums that, you know, weren't just simply just assemblies of songs. They were like, you know, records that you could hang in the museum, you know.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of ambition, but like, you know, sometimes you got to be reminded like a killer record can just be a bunch of killer tracks, you know,
Yeah.
that just all flow flawlessly. And you know, I feel like they lived up to their original standards as a duo, but then also, as I said in the review, one thing that kind of made this record special to me is that I feel like they took their experience and they were able to build that into additionally like super emotionally powerful moments that maybe they weren't capable of fully on, you know, their original run. I mean, you know, you did have tracks where they were getting kind of meta and talking about like, you know, what if we kind of transcended this drug dealer thing and this gang thing and kind of like, you know, united, you know, as like a community and sort of like, you know, worked against the systems and sort of like the you know, powers that be that are working against us, which I was like, you know, it's a pretty ambitious statement for a group that, you know, sort of like made dirty money, you know what I mean? Like it's a pretty wild statement to come out of like a Coke rap record, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
Do you
the inklings of that were there.
do you have favorite songs or favorite lines or favorite moments?
Well, like from the new record,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no, of course, and you know, again, I'll start listing, but I guess like the other thing additionally that I want to say that I feel like makes this album special, because it's not just merely a copy of what they originally did,
No.
is that I feel like it's dark. It's so dark.
And like they said, urgent. It feels dark and urgent.
It's very
which
dark, very urgent. And, you know, I feel like at first I was kind of distracted from the darkness a little bit because of just like how good the beats are and how good the grooves are and how slick the lines are. But then when I actually started listening to some of the darker scales and harmonies and some of the themes and the lyrics, I was like, this album's actually kind of evil, you know, and it's really in some respects. And it's an interesting juxtaposition to sort of like hear even more on this record than on previous records, like all of these allusions to God and Bible verses and morality and so on and so forth, but then simultaneously speaking, you know, like these kind of cerebral, almost like spiritual hexes onto your detractors and your enemies and so on and so forth. There's like a real darkness there that I don't feel that's you know, frankly biblical, that I feel like they hadn't
feels gothic.
Right, that they hadn't quite reached, you know, at the levels that they are now on their older records, and you know, maybe that kind of comes with experience.
And I think also your taste, like you honing in on your taste. Like I know exactly, they were saying that a lot. It's like I know exactly what I want. They knew exactly what they wanted from Pharrell too, and Pharrell can go anywhere. So you have to be like, this is who I am, because he'll give you whatever. So it's like that experience right there, I think is so important to be like, I'm gonna hone in into this space and I'm gonna completely do it the entire project. And then the producer telling you to lyrically and or rhythmically in your flow to stay within this pocket too. That shit's crazy.
It can go anywhere, do anything, but that's an advantage he has now that he didn't have quite to the same degree back then. And again, it would have been really easy to do a Clipse album with Pharrell in the cut where just everybody's doing the same thing that they did in 2005 and 2006, and you do get a little bit of that, you know, like for example, Inglorious Bastards does feel like a grimy cut that you would get off of like a Re-Up Gang mixtape. But then, Ace Trumpets feels like something more from It's Almost Dry, but a little bit darker and a little bit more evil. And lyrically, I would say even better and more interesting because it provides Pusha T and Malice the ability to do what they always do well. And that's like find a way to tag team, which do creatively on these rhyme schemes where for the entirety of verse, one of them is hitting you with that EE sort of like rhyme scheme and with like internal rhymes, and then Malice is following up with the rhymes for the entirety of his verse, and then I believe that there's even like a different rhyme scheme that maintains for the entirety of the hook as well. So you have like these different vowels that are being emphasized in parts of the song, which like is just a really just such a cool way to bounce off of each other. It's like it really kind of for somebody who's been following Pusha T's career since he went solo and has always been sort of looking forward to or hoping for the moment where he really kind of like came into his own. And I liked hearing that on Daytona. I loved hearing that on It's Almost Dry. Like hearing this album really gives you a sense of like almost like what he was missing.
Is this not
missing like a part of himself?
Yeah. Is this not this is surely the best rap performance by a person over 50 years of age ever.
Guaranteed.
Is there anyone even in that conversation?
No, there's how old is Jay-Z?
I
don't know if he's fit. I don't know what that's a great question.
50. He's older than 50 at this point.
Yeah, he's definitely past 50. But
yeah, he's definitely past 50.
Like
he's 55. So I mean an album. I meant a whole album.
Right.
It is. It's just guaranteed. It's unprecedented. Honestly, we're gonna be real with hip hop. It's unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, look, there have been we are privileged to live in an era where older artists and older rappers are, here and there still coming out with like really good quality killer material. Nas's King's Disease run is obviously really cool and really impressive, and I enjoyed a lot of songs and loved projects, from that era and that progression. But like, this is different. This feels like you can really only know this as a part of being a family. Like this is some brotherly competition. This is like steel sharpening steel, which like sure, like it's true that somebody like Nas and somebody like Jay-Z has the capacity and has the experience to bring a lot of like skill and artistry to a project, which they provably have just by virtue of the length of time they existed on this earth and have sort of like consumed and lived and breathed this genre. But like that's not the same kind of pressure that you get put on yourself when you're in the booth with like your greatest rival and he's related to you, and it's like, and you have to sort of like live up to the standards that he's setting as well. You know what I mean? It's like, while Malice, Tori, you and I were already kind of like texting about this a little bit. Like, while Malice did give way more impressive lyrical performances than I think we would have expected, given just the amount of time, and we perceive Pusha T as just being more active because he was putting out more projects that were kind of like turning more heads and gaining more attention. And there were a lot of songs where like Malice really did have kind of like the standout verse, but it was never like a huge gap in terms of like quality. And even though Malice did have a lot of super strong cerebral lines, simultaneously Pusha T is like the yin to that yang. He's bringing a higher energy level on a lot of tracks. He's doing choruses on a lot of tracks. You really do. I feel like they shared more similarities than they didn't on their earlier records. And I feel like on this new LP, I really got to see and appreciate and love what made them different. As people who have had more time to sort of like, and maybe this gap in time where they were sort of apart creatively was good because it gave them the capacity to sort of like define themselves a little bit more. not only team up on the stuff that they both simultaneously do well, but lean into the stuff as well that makes them so different.
Yeah. No, the way that Pusha clearly thinks he's the shit, and like that is all over this. And then Malice comes in with wisdom and depth, and like, you know, let God take the wheel like a Tesla. Like, what? Oh my God. I feel like the center for me of the album is so far ahead, and it really gives us a high point as far as what Pharrell is doing, and a high point as far as what Pusha and Malice do in their verses. That's where we get the "Let God take over like a Tesla" line, and Pusha's line about, you know, if I'm Brittany Griner, I'm gonna need Obama, and the only one they can trade me for is Chapo. And you know, it's really giving who they are, but it's really giving this great flavor of who Pharrell is. And I keep coming back to that one as sort of like bringing the whole thing together for me.
And also on top of it, to me, that song just sort of like echoes a new, mature, dynamic version of like what they were, you know, especially with like all the gospel fusion going on, the instrumental and everything. To me, that sort of felt like an echo of really a lot of the same messaging that we know and love them for from back in the day with like Mr. Me Too. You know, the song is all about sort of like being a trendsetter, being ahead of the curve, being on stuff that other people are not on, and then the moment that other people catch on, you're moving on to the next thing. You know, just like just being, and you hear it in their lyrics as well, especially with Pusha T. Like, I know a lot of people have sort of like these views of him, you know, as obviously like a dope dealer and this and that. But if you know, you watch stuff like his Vlad TV interview, for example, and you actually like look at a lot of the reference points and content in his lyrics, he's a nerd. Like, he's a very brainy, observant guy who consumes things and takes things in, and he picks up all his reference points, and he sort of, you know, is like a library of information, and he just weaves it all together. And that's whether he's talking about drugs, that's whether he's talking about fashion, that's whether he's talking about luxury goods, that's whether he's talking about any type of art or, you know, historical figures. He just soaks up different pieces of information like a sponge, and he's able to sort of like connect them like equations lyrically.
I love Chains and Whips also as this central song in this mix for two reasons. This, I think, is kind of the illest song on here that gives me the most of that like coke rap sort of adrenaline rush, and we're in it, let's go do it. But then also obviously for this is the song that led to them getting
Booty.
paying their way, being shown the exit at Def
Right.
Jam, despite having a massive bill to pay on the leave. But that is one of the central joints here. And like, yes, the rhymes are incredible, but just when you get to that first part where he does the chorus, and then there's like that nice like 8 where we're just luxuriating in the beat, and I'm like, I could just stay here and you guys should just go on without me. I'll catch up later because this is enough right here.
I feel the same way. I do feel that way about that track, but I have even stronger feelings than you were asking me earlier for like a highlight or a moment that stands out to me. And I also wanted to bring up Malice's verse on this track too, because I do think he has a lot of similar qualities to Pusha T in the respect that I was talking about earlier. But like a highlight for me, again, that I feel the same way about, that I was actually playing a lot today, was Mike Tyson "Blow to the Face."
Yeah.
And it's such a simple, like I do love the dynamics and the musical details of Chains and Whips. It's such a dynamic track because you do have the guitars in there, you have the organ bits and the multiple phases, but like for the most part, Mike Tyson "Blow to the Face" is just a loop. And then beyond that, you have like the various spots at the start and in the middle where Pusha T and Malice are just completely a cappella, you know?
Yep.
But again, Malice as well with the reference points. I love the King Midas into the Leonidas bars. And
Amazing. That
the
bar
plug
was so
asks-
amazing.
The plug asks to reunite us, like fucking killer. Just like insane. Just insane shit. But like just all the clever, like I said in my review, what's so great about the duo, or I think any group that sort of, as you said earlier, knows what they want to do, and they do it well, and they do it with creativity. Like, while I respect and I love artists who like rapidly evolve with each album, a Kendrick Lamar, a Madonna, a Prince, whoever it is. But like some people just like know what they want to do, and they do that one thing, and they find a way to make that thing exciting every time. And
Every single time.
and every single time, like these guys are, and even Pusha T on his solo records, he's like rapping about fucking coke, and somehow with each new song and each new record, he's like, I'm going to come up with 6 new ways to rap about this thing that that I'm going to rap about. And it's like, what the fuck? And it's like, I've never heard this referred to like, a Mike Tyson blow to the face. Even after what I said in the review about EBITDA, for example, I was like, I have to verify this. Has there ever been a song where somebody's been like EBITDA or titled EBITDA or some shit like that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I only even know what that is from watching Shark Tank.
Right.
So I knew immediately what he was talking about, but
that's got to be some shit where he's just sort of like, what is it? What could he be watching? He'd be watching what is it? The business channel, the CNBC or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like Bloomberg.
Maybe he's got like a stock portfolio or something that he's.
I'm sure he does.
He's got a stock portfolio that's keeping an eye on.
And then FICO is after that. But I completely agree with you with Mike Tyson blow to the face. And every time we're doing our breakdowns of this whole entire album, I'm like, why? I actually despise people who have a problem with him only talking about coke. That's harder to me to talk about the same thing and figure out how to have triple entendres about the same. Mike Tyson blow to the face alone blows my mind, because I'm like,
it's difficult in 2 ways. Not only because he's been doing it for so long, but there's millions of other guys rapping about the same thing.
Million.
You not only have to think about you not only have to think back to every single song you've ever done, that
all their shit
where you're like, I don't want to repeat myself, I don't want to say the same shit that I've said before. But then you've also, on top of that, got to keep track of every other guy who might be saying something sort of similar.
Yeah.
And even in the moments where he is sort of like maybe lacking in a bit of originality, there's like something to his delivery that is just so funny, and ear grabbing. My girlfriend's been enjoying the hell out of the album too, and I'm listening to, shout out to her, and I'm listening to and reviewing and just casually listening to and enjoying a lot more rap on a regular basis than she is. And one line that obviously stood out to her, that I'm sure a lot of for a lot of people listening, and you guys too, was when Pusha T hit the beat with the yellow diamonds look like pee-pee. And it's like, and she was just like, I am just stuck on that. And I was like, that's funny, because it's like there's so many bars. People are like, my diamonds are like piss, my diamonds are like pee-pee. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, let me look them up for you. And I was like finding dozens of tracks. But like still, the way he hit the song with that, and on the first bar, and especially considering
it's hilarious.
Everybody loves that line, but I feel the same thing about when Malice says selling dope is a religion. I'm sure that 10 other people have said that, but he's talking about, I'm actually a pastor and I actually understand the book, the good book. So like that whole conversation is entirely different when he says it.
No, it is true. And if I remember that being in the same verse, it's also the same point around where he's talking about sort of like his hand, using his hands to, do the work and then turning them into blessings. Which is like, who's saying that? You know what I mean? It's like, when you look at the wider web of references and sort of like the picture that he's painting, like, yes, he says he does make that simile that you just said he did, that a lot of other people have, but then he goes on to actually prove the concept by actually drawing these religious metaphors that other people are just not creative enough to also draw.
But come on, he said, I done been both
Mason
Bethers.
Let's talk the other thing. You guys are touching on 2 points that I want to put on, in the fact that who they are matters so much. Like, I don't think like at first people were just like, yeah, this is giving me that feeling back, or it felt nostalgic to people. And after I listened to it 10,247 times, I'm like, this is forward thinking. This is urgent and feels new and feels fresh. And that's what's so amazing about it. And the thing that makes a lot of these things work is the world that they built, as well as the truth to who their characters are. We know their stories. I know that these guys are making this shit in Louis Vuitton. So when you're talking about fly shit and I'm so far ahead, you're hanging out with the creative director of Louis Vuitton. And you guys known each other since freaking you guys were kids.
Teenagers.
Teenagers. It's a completely different weight to your words because we actually know it. And because of this, for the other people who are not super fans as me and you are, because we're Clipsters, right? So people who are not that, they got this through the rollout. They heard this, they saw it in the article. They might have got the clickbait stuff with Travis or Kendrick, but when you actually clicked on their shit, they were talking of things of substance, saying that we opened this album with a song about our parents that passed away. Right. And this is where we are recording it in the LV. You're getting substance of what the album is. Like, this is old school when Toure was doing freaking reviews.
Wow.
No, but I'm saying I'm giving you your credit, like the golden era of reviews. Like a
little drive-by.
But I'm just saying, like, that right there, I think is what provides so much weight to the lyrics and words, because the personas and the characters are something that was delivered beforehand and throughout the album.
Go ahead.
That's true, and there is a lot of history, obviously, in the record and behind Clipse. But personally, I'm of the belief, and I feel like this is also the mark of a great album. This is just a theory. You never really know whether or not this is the case. But I feel like this is the kind of record that, like, if you release this completely anonymously and no label, and you showed this to the same people who are hearing this album today with no context, people would listen to it and be convinced that there's something going on here and that it's great. You know, like there's an artist, there's a historical weight to it and a gravity to everything that they say because of like the context that they exist in. But like there's something also about the songwriting, the lyricism, and the artistry behind it that just speaks for itself. That, like, again, if this was an anonymous release, or if you're a new fan just coming into this album, as I'm sure a lot of people are, because there's a lot of fucking kids on Twitter who are hearing about this for the first time because of trending and the drama, and then they didn't fucking grow up listening to
at all.
You know, it's like they were fucking around when that happened. And they're hearing the album too with none of that context, and they're like, "This is good."
It's extraordinary to have one producer for the whole thing, and then for that producer to be your friend, and it to be somebody as genius as Pharrell, like unbelievable. But as I always think, like, do it with one producer, like, especially if you're like a big dog, like the Clipse, like, get one guy and just make the whole thing with them. So it's cohesive. So it has the sense of an album rather than grabbed from here. I mean, just even the way that they interplay, this is culturally inappropriate. Which, if it wasn't one producer, we're not playing with that through the album. And it's the same message, but the rhythmic interplay of it, sometimes it's in the record, sometimes it goes against the record. I love that.
That's just beautiful. Shout out Mikey for that.
Yeah, it's a very funny drop. And, you know, like, especially on some of the tracks around the midpoint, like it just gets used so incessantly. And it just reminds me of, like, this feels like a song that would be on a between album mixtape project that would have landed around
exactly
like for the hard fans.
Jesus.
That is definitely.
You wonder, you know, this is a little bit off the menu, but Jay-Z gets the album, he listens, he decides to not add something, which I think they have made it clear they were thinking and hoping that he might want to. I don't say this to me like he's retired. He just didn't say anything. Because, I mean, you know, he chose to sit this out.
Like, yeah, unless, like you said, unless you were like retiring yourself, like why wouldn't you want to jump on a record like this? You know,
Listening to this, yeah.
I mean,
When
it's
it's
like,
Nas, Kendrick,
do you feel like maybe um, Jay-Z getting into the mix, and this is obviously sort of like, one of the few negative things people try to throw at the album. Do you feel like Jay-Z being in the mix would have reinforced the idea that this is like an old man album? This is just a record for like old people. It's just for old heads or whatever. Would that have mattered?
I would imagine Jay, if anything, if it's not I'm retired, it would be more like I can't be following. You already have Kendrick and Nas. I can't be part of a
That feels
group.
more like it. It
You know
feels
what I mean?
like you have Kendrick, Nas, Tyler, and then I'm gonna be part of this.
You don't rate Tyler. Tyler don't count. To him.
He might not rate Tyler,
Kendrick,
but we're talking about people. We're talking about Nas. You're talking about. I'm just saying, there's a lot of weight on that album already. You need one of those people, and it's a thing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it wasn't necessary, but like by that same token, just a few years ago, Pusha T was on. It's almost not Pusha T, but Jay was on. It's Almost Dry, and he had a great verse on It's Almost Dry.
No, I know he's flirting with retirement. I think speaking of Nas, weakest feature on the album
easily. Yeah, I kind of feel like
besides the dream,
the dream don't. The dream's not a rapper.
Kind of like a victory lap verse, but I feel like it worked into the album and it contributed to the album because it was kind of like a fun cameo after a beat switch. It didn't feel like it was forced into the original song. It felt like it was just kind of like this cool, fun afterthought that transitioned you to the next track.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It's Nas, right? So it feels like it wasn't bad. Same thing like his like Magic album or one of the ones out of the three, which I was like, that one wasn't that good. But he was in it. He was, but it wasn't. Still, it's Nas. It's like it's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
It wasn't that good. So this is to me. Nas is like you will sometimes. That's funny. Nas is sometimes you're gonna get a actual Nasir Jones feature, and then sometimes he's like, "Oh, you want a rap verse? I rapped, right? That's what you got."
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only way for him to have come in and like really provided a verse that was going to be fireworks was for him to be like locked into the same song, same beat, same everything, and like literally go Coke triple entendre for Coke triple entendre with these guys, and I just don't expect that from him. At this point in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a great epic Kendrick verse?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
No question.
Do you not think so?
No. I'm asking him his opinion. I'm not saying.
I want to know. I just want to know your opinion.
Of course, it's a fantastic verse. I want to hear you talk about it.
It felt almost in the spirit of like, I got to come up with a pattern or a play or an angle here in the same way that I did like when I was on Nostalgia, It sort of felt like I'm working with Pusha T. He admires me. I admire him. The pressure's on. I really have to work up to a standard here. And I feel like he did, much in the same way that the guys were playing with, some of those interesting rhyme schemes on the album on some other tracks. Like he was doing this cool alliteration routine. And, I loved multiple bars, especially the one where he's talking about, oh, you want the tea, here's like the ginseng root, so on and so forth, like crazy shit.
Crazy bars. And still
he said, at the end, he said, God gave me light, a good year full of free will. Trump card told me not to spare your life, motherfucker. Who is he talking about? It's not optics. Right. We were like, nigga, you are talking about Drake. Get out. We told you not to wear your shoes in the house. And I'm sorry, but now I'm kicking you out of the. You're kicking me out of the. Yes. I can't deal with this anymore. It is about Drake, is it not?
I feel like
it doesn't seem. I was gonna say it doesn't seem overwhelmingly about Drake. After you read it out and actually look at the gen scheme and the theory now, which makes a lot of sense, is your boy Malice comes in and says it's easy to put 2 and 2. Then he says the 2-time Gemini, and then has all the Gen stuff, and that's about 22 Gen motifs right there. And he's going from a positive side to a negative side with genocide or genius. It's always playing off of each other. It feels like the entire verse is him saying that there's 2 of him and 2 of the brothers, and he reflects the 2 brothers with his 2 sides of his Gemini, which is mostly what the verse is about. And I think that you can direct certain things at Drake, but it has nothing to do with him as a larger point.
If it is, I feel like it's a more interesting, tasteful nod and play than whatever the hell Drake was just doing on What Did I Miss? Which is just like, which like, I mean, look, both these guys respectively like went through like a really huge experience that we all kind of collectively went through, you know, like with this beef, with these songs back and forth. Obviously they went through it in a way that, you know, that only they could have. It's still on, you know, even as outside viewers, like it's still on all of our minds. You know, I feel like it would be ridiculous to not expect it at least to a little bit, especially when they enter the booth at least a few times out of the year when they do. It's still on their minds. But I mean, I feel like, you know, it in terms of that embodying itself in Kendrick's work, and I expect it to. And maybe it did a little bit on this track too. He's being more creative and interesting in terms of playing around it than just like kind of coming onto the microphone being like, people who I used to like are still friends with this guy who was mean to me. It's like, okay, man. I mean, I thought you were Mr. No New Friends, and I don't have any friends. Nobody likes me, and I don't associate with anybody. Like, where suddenly are all of these former friends
that you had? Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
What did I miss?
I'm also stuck on, of course, the Tyler verse on POV.
Fucking moving dirty white like mosh pits. That line is insane. That line is fucking insane. Like, as somebody who grew up going to punk shows and has been in multiple mosh pits, I was like, wow, just like incredible, amazing.
But then but then I need God to play the lead in my biopic. The fuck?
Barred it up. And that's punchline Tyler. We don't really get punchline Tyler. Right. Like he really came up to that level. So I appreciated that a lot.
Green, do you have a favorite beat? I know you can't pick a favorite song because they're all like your children. You love them all equally, but there's got to be one beat that's better than the others.
I really, really, really like Ace Trumpets because of that kick, trip, fall, like off-grid kick. That's what I'm here for, Pharrell. Like when I heard it, I'm hearing the beat, like you said, it felt like almost dry, and I'm like, then I heard that kick. I took my Bluetooth speaker, threw it at the wall. I was like, this is the greatest thing. Thank you. We are back. We are hell hath no fury, my guy. It's just, that's what I want. I want off-grid drums and something that just feels human. It felt like somebody played that kick. It's not some trap grid thing. But also, what was it? Ibida. I can't even say that.
Yeah, Ibida.
That has a Tribe Called Quest feeling to it, and I'm a Tribe guy.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
With the
Dude, you could ride on that bitch.
It's got almost like a speed, like if you turn the tempo up on like a Low End Theory track.
Exactly.
Yeah, a little bit. Actually, yeah, that's a great comparison. I think like even though I was playing Mike Tyson Blow to the Face so many times today because I do love the beat on that one, and I love that horn sample on Inglorious Bastards. I think the beat I still like am blown the most away by, and I think it is so simple and so heavily leaning into the sample is probably so be it. I almost threw my shit against the wall. I ordered the vinyl, and then I looked at the fucking track list, and I saw that song is not on the goddamn vinyl. What fucking thing is on the vinyl except that song?
Wait a minute. So Be It is not on the vinyl?
It's not on the vinyl.
I'm so glad I didn't purchase that. I hope they're gonna make another one because they didn't clear it yet, right?
Probably repress it in some time and put it on there. But if you remember, there was like some weird drama around that track, or not drama, but like there was some weird stuff around the track because when they originally announced the track list, it was going to be So Be It Part 2.
Right.
There were a lot of people talking about whether or not the sample was actually going to get cleared and so on and so forth. But obviously, like, you know, it did. And like, God, I just love not only how buttery those chops are on that, you know, Saudi Arabian music sample on the track. The reverse percussion is just the perfect. Like, how long has it been since we've heard a hit that had like that many reversed perks on it? It's been a while.
Like Timberland.
Right. Like just so many reversed bits of percussion on there, and it just added to the eeriness of the song. To me, that's one of the more eerie songs on the record because the sample sounds down pitched too. Like there's kind of like wooziness, there's like a slowness to it, there's a syrupiness to it. That just makes it sound like, again, like you're in the Matrix and you're just kind of going slow-mo and the bullets are flying by and some shit like that. It's kind of trippy. It's like, it's honestly psychedelic a little bit in a way.
Love that.
I mean, the Chains and Whips beat, to me, I can't get away from it just as a piece of music. It gives me, because there's sort of a creaking sound, but it sounds futuristic. So I imagine like one of those like almost like Dune, like a futuristic car, but it's wheezing along. It's not perfect, right? It's not like the Matrix future is perfect. Like the Dune future is like, there's mistakes. There's, 2001, there's shit that's broken in the future. So it's sort of like, I see like this gigantic thing that was like wheezing a little bit, but it's so in rhythm and it's there's this sort of deep sense in it of like just I don't even know, like a soulfulness, but not like soul music.
Very bluesy too.
So yes, all of that. So being like that one freaking slays me. But like the gospel-y Pharrell is so like sweet, like earworm sweet, like the So Far Ahead. He does it on So Far Ahead, and he does it. What's the other one, Green, where he does that? Where he does a chorus like the So Far Ahead chorus.
So far,
where he's singing.
Where he's singing.
Yeah,
I feel like he does that. He does it on Chain and Whips. A little refrain.
By the grace of God.
Oh, by the grace of God. Yeah.
Yeah. With that, like the piece by piece, everything is beautiful. Like the Pharrell, who's like
that Pharrell. Yeah.
That Pharrell. So yeah, I mean, my God, every time he says the Ferrari leather with the matching stitching, I'm like, it's so funny. That line is never not funny and dope and perfect to me. And like
singing it in a gospel voice is
like it's part
Ferrari leather. Like, what is wrong with you? You're fucking crazy.
But again, just like musically so sound, even going back to the closing track there, like that sort of like, descending set of chord progressions, by the grace of God. Like, it's such a great, crazy transition that brings you into the chorus. Like, it's so tight, it's so epic. It really just does feel like again, you're listening to in terms of hip hop production, just like a beat gospel chorus fusion thing. I mean, also what I love on So Far Ahead is that it's in 3/4.
Yeah.
It's got that gospel swing to it.
Yeah.
Talked about that today.
It's got that gospel sway in it that you wouldn't be able to get unless you were doing it in that time signature. But he got it in a fucking 3/4.
Do you have one?
And they rap it in 3/4, which is
favorite line from the whole joint?
I think definitely like those Malice bars that I mentioned earlier with the, Leonidas and so on and so forth. Like those definitely stood out to me. And also Malice's bars, Dress in House of Gucci, Selling Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga. That's the one that Pusha said he was jealous that Malice figured that out first.
There's that. So many like a lot of Push's bars on Mike Tyson Blow to the Face, even for him to be sort of doing that chorus. But I also love that, like, I also love when Malice followed that chorus up with like 96 Hove with the bass. Like that could have been a fucking bar too.
That could have been the chorus.
Right.
I think it's on the same track too. The bar that he drops, that Malice drops when he's talking about what is it? He says the shit about like, he makes a reference to like, you know, the drug phone. He's like, that's the bass line. You know, it's like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like the bass
line. Yeah, that's the entendres are crazy. This whole
when Malice says just a million between skeletons because he's wearing the skeletonized watch.
Richard Mill.
But I mean, you know, I keep coming back to fucking, you know, if I'm Brittany Griner, I'm gonna need Obama. Only one to trade for is Chapo. Like, it's such a ridiculous.
There's too many lines on this damn. I think because I like them proving haters wrong is the beat the system with chains and whips being a chorus bar. Like that's the chorus.
Right.
That's probably the best line in my verse. That's your chorus. That's crazy. It's like I can't deal with that. But yeah.
Amazing.
There's a lot of verse lines that could have been chorus lines.
Yeah.
You know? Which is crazy.
Last time you gave something in hip hop a 10?
I think it was T-Pab. I think that was the last like hip hop record.
T-Pab was the last hip hop 10.
Yeah, I mean there have been some examples of stuff that's been close, like JID Forever Story. And honestly, before this album came out, I was kind of like, I think the next JID record probably has the makings of, you know, being a 10. You know, it's like in terms of like some records that I'm anticipating in the near future that I feel like might maybe have a chance of operating at that level. And you know, that could still obviously be the case. Like obviously, you know, a record coming out that's a 10 in any genre or whatever doesn't rule out another album in my mind.
Yeah.
Sure, of course.
I've had other years in the past where I've had 2 10s in a year's time.
But since T-Pab, that's a lot. That's saying a lot.
Yeah,
a whole lot.
I mean,
Wow.
I don't even think I've given out.
It's like 10 years
over the course of my, you know, I think we're up to 8 now. Maybe we're at 8 or 9.
Wow.
So I don't think we're at 10 yet in terms of like brand new records. So
wow.
Let me ask you this question: how does it feel to be more relevant than Pitchfork?
Oh my god, I feel like Pitchfork is a shout out to Pitchfork, not only because like they laid a lot of the groundwork for, you know, what I do on YouTube, but like I feel like they've been back on like their old school Pitchfork shit and have been championing some like weird bands here and there that have sort of flown under my radar before I saw them talk about it. And I was like, cool, like, you know, that's what I want to see. You know, it's like obviously I love the fact that they've been able to, you know, build the brand to the point where, you know, they figured out that their opinion on something like a Taylor Swift record mattered. And, you know, that's cool. You know, I feel like a publication like that should cover that stuff. But like simultaneously, like your Pitchfork, you know, like you put Radiohead's hipster era on the map. You know what I mean? It's like the only reason people, you know, you guys are one of the only fucking reasons people cared about indie music. You know? So it's like, you know, you've got to find a way to sort of start championing those bands again. And I'm seeing them do more of that here and there. I'm excited about it. You know, they've been putting me onto some things lately that I wouldn't have covered otherwise. So I think they're doing some.
Their hip hop opinion's been trashed though. They gave this shit like a 6.
Yeah, I've been seeing some people like, you know, like bringing together all of their like
fuck Pitchfork. Fuck Pitchfork. This is the whole thing. We got Fantano here. Why are we talking about Pitchfork? Fuck
because
Pitchfork.
I wanted to talk shit because them niggas gave that a 10, a 6, and the whole culture saying this is the greatest thing in the world, and some idiot says it's a 6, and I was like, whatever, it's just a review, it's just one person. Let me reel it back.
Man, he just, you know, he might be young, he didn't understand, you know. I mean, look, if I don't know you, I don't really care, right? Like I have a relationship as a fan or a reader with Fantano, and the fast you said X, Y, and Z, that vibes with my opinion. So I'm like, okay, like, you know, if I just encounter you for the first time, I'd be like, okay, that was nice, but what else? You know what I mean? I got to get to know you. So
I don't even know you, bro.
I don't know you. I don't care about you.
But it's like, but that's like this guy that you don't know who's telling you he knows Fantano. That's what that feels like. He's repping Fan. He's like, yeah, I know Fantano, and yeah, that album's a fucking six. That shit trash. You know that shit that you like? That shit fucking trash. But yeah, that's it. That shit was funny. But either way, I was elated that you gave that shit a 10. I saw that shit and I was happy as fuck because, like I said,
he's like on the Clipse team. Like
I dead ass. I sent it to Mike. I sent that video directly to Mikey, their engineer. I was like, I sent it to him. I was like, this is the fucking greatest album you guys ever fucking made. Shout out to P, the guys. I love this fucking album. And he was like, my bro. That shit is like, he's like, my bro. It's like this shit, we all feel that way about it. So it's like, it's good to feel as a fan to see everybody else enjoy it too at the same level. So hopefully everybody does.
What do you guys feel about this idea? And this is a little like disheartening personally. I saw some people talking about this record. I saw this tweet and it was going like kind of viral and there were a lot of people engaging with it. And you know, and this may or may not be true, but I just sort of like hate the idea of this becoming a perception. But like this guy brought up this album, and he's like, and Push T and Malice are this age, and then there's like Kendrick and he's this age, and Jid is this age, and he's like, hip hop is finally an old man's game, you know. And it's like,
that's stupid.
I don't know if we want to, you know, celebrate that or sort of instill that into people's minds that like caring about lyrics is just for old people.
It's a clickbaity thing because we, as old people, I guess now, we have been your whole life. You're saying like 40 is old, 35 is old, right? Like 35 is freaking old. So people over here has been saying this whole time, especially within this culture, that now there's so many people past their 30s that are highly successful and still valuable to the culture. I think it's just algorithmic clickbait mentality to go all the way extreme. Like, you guys suck. Not that we matter too. You guys fucking suck and you don't matter. It's like you can't just say, hey man, we're killing it right now. You got to be like, every one of you young niggas is trash. But let's just say, mainstream wise, on a lyrical level, under 30, there's probably 25 rappers under 30 that are lyrical and good, like really good.
25.
And because you got to think of Doechii.
You don't have to name them.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so yeah, I'm not gonna name all 25 of them, but I'm just saying you got to think about it. I'm just letting you know where they're at.
Drake is not in that 25, correct?
Did you just say Drake is? He's not under 30, bro. He's 57 years old. So I'm just saying, like, you could look at it in that atmosphere, but it's not a. That shit is just stupid. The culture is in a great place for me.
It's an interesting album to observe in an age where like people just sort of seem to be on both sides, like really desperate and willing to kind of like embrace generational divides and just sort of like, you know, either be like everybody who's younger of a certain age doesn't know shit, or anything that sounds like it's not sort of a creative disciple of like Playboi Carti is like unk shit. And it just feels like a complete inverse of not when I first started reviewing music, but when I first started like reviewing music on YouTube and really starting to get traction. And, you know, at the time, I'm sure you guys remember, there was almost like this, not obsession, but just sort of like a trend with a lot of up and coming artists who were just so young. You know, you had the Joey Badass 1999 mixtape, and you had Future, and you had all these breaking artists who, like, you know, were lyrical and cared about bars and so on and so forth. But like, and you know, you had other artists who were trending as well that weren't quite in that same age gap. But you know, everybody was kind of like blown away and kind of making a lot of hay and making a lot of headlines over like, you know, look at this next super young generation of talent that's like, you know, hitting the mixtape circuit and making a lot of noise, and they're not even fucking 18 yet.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was a great time.
And it was a crazy time. But the thing is, like, even some of these rappers who are sort of like perceived as being on the cutting edge of like the newest, hottest sounds that youngest people are listening to. Like Playboi Carti's almost 30, you know? It's like he's not a young guy, you know. So like
That's what I'm trying to say.
a lot of these dudes who are like, you know, sort of like these gods to kids who are like 15, 16, 17 now, like are almost 30 or just past 30. And it's like it's just a bit of a weird dynamic.
It's very weird. And to say that Travis Scott dissed this nigga Pusha T on his album, called him an old nigga, and he's 34. You're not allowed to call people old niggas when you're 34. You are the old nigga. You're 34 years old. Like, what are we talking about, nigga? Your knees hurt. Nigga, I remember being 30. I know your knees hurt, nigga.
You have kids.
You have children.
You have children.
You have a mortgage.
You're putting your kids to bed, and you're concerned with how old Pusha T is. You're doing bedtime.
They're talking about how old somebody is. It's like, what? It's crazy. I saw that line, and I honestly went straight to Google his age because I was like, I think you're in your mid 30s, and I Googled it. And I was like, I can't take this nigga serious.
But a lot of on a surface level read of these guys, and I feel like we're getting into a different conversation here, but it is an interesting one. On a surface level read of these guys, and even for as long as I've been listening to Travis Scott and Playboi Carti, like the way that they operate and present themselves, they are almost in like, at least in terms of the way they present themselves to the world, like in this odd state of arrested development when you do see them, even though they are 30 and 35 years old, you look at them and it's like, yeah, that guy could be 22. You know, it's like when he raps about being in his 20s or making allusions to that, I believe him. He's kind of carrying himself in that way. So I mean, it is like a convincing, you know, like a convincing performance, much in the same way that, like, you know, for example, like when Future came into the game, he was like way older than the average rapper who was like hopping on the kinds of instrumental trends that he was. But it's like he seemed like he was, you know, locked in with everybody else. And now he's like, isn't he like in his mid to late 40s at this point?
He's about 41, 42.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's definitely a very, let's say, bellicose album in that Jim gets a verse, Travis gets a verse. We're firing guns at anybody anywhere near us.
All of y'all. Cockle doodle doo.
Yeah, you know, that's and that's another verse that stood out to me with some lines that like were some of my favorites on the album. I'll close your heaven for the hell of it is an insane thing to say to anybody or about anybody.
It's insane. I just can't get over the fact those level bars in a strict rhyme pattern for every single song. Like every song is, hey, I'm going to rap in this pattern and I'm going to bar the fuck up. Like I just can't get it. You don't have any loose language and loose flows to like just get your bar off. Like you wrote some shit that was really hot 3 weeks ago and I can put it into this song. No, I have to make it work within this pattern. That's hard. That's just too hard and amazing. There's like a torrential downpour and I don't know if like it's actually ridiculous. It's like there's like a flood right there. I'm actually concerned.
Just stay inside and listen to the clips.
Definitely about to do that, but I'm like, this is getting higher. Like I'm looking at a lamppost and the water is at like mid lamppost.
What?
Dog.
Like that's kind of ridiculous.
Should you be turning your camera on that natural disaster there?
I think I'm straight. I'm on a hill. The water's going that way.
All right. Well, if you need help,
hill is always good.
I'll let you guys know.
Put up the bat signal if you need help.
You know what I'm talking about?
We'll send Jason Bateman right over.
What you about to do over there in New York? Scoop.
You need Batman. We'll send Bateman. All right. Look, thank you so much, Anthony. It's been fantastic digging into this with you. I'm loving this album, and I'm loving how it's bringing the culture together. Yeah, and I can reach out to hip hop heads I haven't talked to in a year or two. Like, are you into this? Yes, I am. Let's fucking dig into it together, because it's just everybody who really loves hip hop is like just getting fed by this and wanting to commune with other people about it, and like that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and it's like obviously, you know, the record isn't doing as many numbers out of the gate as like the you know, random doo-doo Jack Boys project that just like kind of came out of the blue. But it's still turning out to be a top 10 album, and I think it's like, you
Top five.
know, proof of you know, this kind of like ongoing narrative is just a lie that an album like this, that's barred up like this and sort of plays to a certain kind of like ear, is just commercially unviable and doesn't have any sort of like buoyancy in the
Mhm.
commercial music market today. Like, you know, those Nas King's Disease records that I was talking about earlier, like they're great records and they did really well, you know, for him because of his core audience. But like, you know, they did like 47, 50K first week or so,
Mhm.
you know. This is doing like 90. You know, it's like I don't feel like you're hitting those numbers unless you are, you know, we know that there's like a core Clipse fan base that's going to line up to make sure that that like first 40K gets sold, first 40,
Yep.
50, you know. But like I feel like you're not really hitting that number and getting into the top 10 unless you're actually spreading outside of that group of listeners. And actually convincing some people and converting some people who maybe were not fully convinced before.
Is
Guaranteed.
90 a good first week for this group?
Yes.
It's one of their better weeks. I believe they're I think it's I think if they do 90, that's going to make this their second highest selling album as far as the first week. I think
Mhm. Lord willing.
it was Lord Willem. That one did 123 from what I saw. So this would be their second best week.
Back then, too. So 90 in 2025 is like 500,000.
Right, and that's kind of the other thing. It's like that's a 90 that you're getting as a result of people streaming the album over and over and over and
Yeah,
over.
I actually hate that terminology of saying 90,000 because it's actually makes no damn sense. 1,500 times you stream it, it's not an actual
Yeah,
album sale.
because again, like, you know, obviously, we remember a time when you bought a CD back in the day and you played that thing into the ground, you know. But you know, still in today's day and age, it's kind of preposterous that what is the standard now? Like 1,500 streams of something counts as a single
One
sale.
album. Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, you're like, you know, no matter how 90s you were and sort of like plugged into buying the albums of your favorite artists and playing them over and over and over, nobody's spinning that fucking CD 1,500 times. You know, it's like you're buying it maybe over the course of a lifetime. You know, you're
Yeah.
not playing the CD all the way through 1,500 times.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an insane metric. I just wish that they said, "Hey, this was streamed 120 million times." You know, just tell me how
Yeah.
much it was streamed. Why are you telling me these fake albums that don't even exist? No one bought shit.
Yeah, you know, I mean, again, it's all just like a weird way that they compile things because, you know, like let's say the 1,500 streams of the album that needed to count for a sale, let's say people were only streaming the first half of the album, that still counts as an album
Sure.
sale, even if everybody
Sure.
wasn't listening to the entire record. It's just
Sure.
such a weird metric, but it's the reason that people, you know, it's the reason that, like, let's say for example, you know, Cardi B is going to make sure that fucking WAP is on her new record.
Exactly.
And the thing is, like,
That's going to allow her to be able to say, like, first week, like, oh, my album did this many sales because we're counting all the WAP streams in with, you know, the
this
general album streams.
at this age, you are generally a legacy artist. You are doing your old shit. You're doing, you know, reruns of what you used to do. You're not trying to be on the charts. And to be this age and have stepped away from the game for so long and to be like, no, we're going to do all the things. Like, we're going to, you know, record with Pharrell. We're going to do every interview. We're going to push this stuff out, make videos. And you're competing at the top of the charts. And we're battling and we're like trying to be, we are in the culture. We are not a legacy act. We are a contemporary act, which I would assume they're going to drop another album in 2 years. Like,
Yeah,
like we're in it now.
seems
This
like
is not
they're
the end. Like,
yeah, it seems like the momentum is there. I feel like they would be insane not to continue going forward.
Well, but the question is malice, right? Like, what does he need from music? What does he getting from religion? Is it
Money.
saying
From what I saw in his interviews, he seems locked in. He seems like, even to the extent that he's like, if I'm going to do this, I have to do this as malice. I can't do this as no malice. I can't do this with 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
I saw a lot of interviews where Pusha was a very solid interview, a very good interview, and Malice was like, "Cool, can we go home now?" Right? He kind of hangs out in a lot.
I think he's just a little. I think he's just a little introverted. Like he probably, and they've been doing a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
Like after a while, he probably doesn't like being there.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
But right. I mean, as far as like the writing and being locked in on the creative side, he seems just as invested in it as
for sure. Anthony, thank you so much for the time, the hangout. Appreciate, congrats to the Clipse for getting a 10 from Anthony.
They only got 8 of those.
I'ma get $1 million in the bank.